Continuing from the previous movie, my review of the XML file as well as the FLA file for structuring our slideshow that's going to be run using the XML data but scripted out in ActionScript. We're now ready to start adding that ActionScript. Open up the slideshow_start.fla file from the work files folder. Click on the very first frame in the actions layer and then add this line of code. Import karina.transitions.tweener semicolon. Tweener has a T, capital T there on the tweener. Go ahead and add the comment. This is going to import custom classes to improve the tween fades between images. This is importing the necessary libraries. We need the Karina's tweener engine, which I've saved in the transitions folder inside the Karina folder, inside the work files folder. If we go into the work files folder, notice that there is a folder called XML slideshow. Inside of that, let's go ahead and go back one more. There's the XML slideshow folder. There's a Karina folder inside of this, and inside of that is a transitions folder. Here are some custom classes created by Zay Fernando, Nate Chatelier, and Arthur DeBear, and widely used by the Flash developer community. This is an improvement over the fades provided by the native Flash tween engine. The one that we're going to be looking at is called Tweener. If you double click on that, this will open it up in the Flash workspace here. Tweener, transition controller for movie clips, sounds, text fields, and other objects, written by these three folks right there. Copyright 2006-2007. Permission is hereby granted free of charge to any person obtaining a copy of this software and associated documentation files. So you can find these custom classes written by these folks under the MIT license in a variety of locations. Just go ahead and Google Karina. Karina is spelled like this here, and you'll notice that when you do get these transitions, there's usually bundled here quite a number of them, so you can experiment with these custom classes. Again, we'll use these classes to fade in the slides, fade them in and fade them out. Again, these are better than the ones that come with Flash. Back to our script here in our Flash file. We're now ready for the next two lines of codes. We need to define two constants, one for the delay between the slides in milliseconds and the other one for the fade time between the slides in seconds. So we're going to declare first timer here, delay timer. Notice this is all capitalized, timer underscore delay. Integer equals 2000, that's in milliseconds, so there's going to be a 2-second delay between each slide. It's going to take 3 seconds to fade in those slides. The fade time constant is going to equal 3. The next lines of code is we need to set some variables for the slideshow itself. Let me go ahead and open up our Actions panel here so we can see these next lines of code. We begin here with a variable that holds a reference to the current container which holds the slides and is in the front. That's this one right here, variable current container, sprite. Now to know which slide is currently active, we set an integer. We start at -1 because the function switch slide will go to the first slide, which is actually 0. Right there, we set that integer equals to -1. And remember that arrays start at 0, like this one that I'll be using here. Now the total number of slides will be held in this variable, install slide count. That's going to be an integer as well. Next we need to define a timer which calls the switch slide function after the delay time we set in the constant. That's going to be the next line of code here. In fact, there's a series of variables that I'm setting up here. Let me go through these each in turn. There's the variable for the timer for switching slides. There's a variable for the sprite container. It's going to be holding that first image. Accomplishing a fade requires 2 images and a container for each one. So an image can fade in while the other fades out. So these are my 2 containers that I'm setting up with these variables. Next, we set a variable for loading our slides right here. Let me go ahead and clean up this code so I can move the comment adjacent to the actual code that it's commenting about and then add some spaces here. Let's move that down. So there are the variables that I'm establishing in this section of the code. Let's move this down like so. Okay, those are the two variables for the slide holders. Here is the variable for loading our slides called slide loader, loader, semicolon. The next variable defines the path to the XML file containing the image file names and text descriptions. If you're going to make an error, this may be one of the easiest ways to do it, is to path this incorrectly. Notice that this is telling Flash that the images.xml file is in the same folder as this FLA file. You'll need to change this if you move your XML file or if you move this FLA file. Either circumstance, you'll need to path this correctly. I suggest keeping everything in the same folder, making this line as simple as possible, because again, you are probably going to make a mistake there if you do make an early mistake in this script. Next, the XML loader class is then called to load the XML file. We've seen that before. Variable XML loader URL loader semicolon. And finally, we need a variable right there, XML slideshow XML, to store all of the XML data. So you probably want to go ahead and pause the movie and get this next section of the script all sorted out. Make sure that it's all correct. Check out the color coding here. Some of the letters there are in black. Those are custom names. The blue ones are reserved names. The green ones are strings. Proceed on to the next movie for the rest of the instructions and descriptions of the remaining scripts to get your XML slideshow working.